Hey guys, welcome to another episode of All Bass Creations, effects, tutorials, demos, and review. So today we're going to be doing some pretty much electronic drum sounds we're going to be trying to get to with different units and seeing what we can do. So first up there, you heard the Enzo X. The Enzo X is where I kind of got the idea. I know, of course, when you have some great oscillators and some great filters and things like that, you can create a ton of different sounds rather. The Enzo X is actually capable of doing everything from synth stuff to string-like textures. Let me see, give you guys a little bit of, see where we at. A little bit of string-like textures. So you can get everything from that to, you know, of course, synth sounds. These type of sounds, like almost like piano-esque type sounds. Right? So you get everything from that. You know, the brass sounds. But you can also create things, because it is a full featured synth, right? You can create trumpet type sounds, sax type sounds. Got all your funkier sounds, right? But you can also get to some drum sounds with it as well. So that's what we're going to get into now. And that's where it kind of, the reason I'm starting with the Enzo X is because, for one, it has the widest, I guess, set of sound possibilities, you know, out of all the pedals here. You know, we'll be going through the Future Impact and the MXR bass synth, trying to get some sounds as well. I know I could get some drum sounds with the V4, and I know I can get a kick sound, but I'm also going to try to get a snare and hi-hat sound with the MXR bass synth as well. So for you users. But so let's start with the Enzo X here. Let's go ahead and just do some parameter adjustments to where it might normally be. We're just going to set the filter all the way open, all that stuff. Let's see. Bam. Filter. Slow pass there, bam. So Just undid what I did. But here we go. So the other amazing thing about the Enzo X is it has that ability to create those different waveforms and can be played with a keyboard. So I'm going to make the sound with the keyboard be a little easier for you guys to see and explain to you guys a little easier. So undid all my stuff, huh? So essentially we're going to take a sine wave, right, and turn it into a sine wave. We're going to turn that into different drum sounds, right? Let me turn this way. I want you guys make sure y'all can hear me clearly. So bam, we're going to start with just a basic thing like this, and we're actually, we're going to start a little bit further back than that actually, because that's where we're going to start, right? Right, so pretty much it's just a triangle wave. So we're going to take a triangle wave that's pitched down an octave. And as you can see, it already has a lot of the characteristics we need, but some that we don't. So we're going to take that sound, right, and that's just one oscillator. We're going to take that. First, we're going to go to the amp envelope. Appreciate that. And feel free to ask questions or chime in and all that good stuff. Feel free to say hi, all that excellent stuff. But, okay. So even with the bass sound, so we'll start there, and we don't need any of the sustain. Right? So no sustain. Now you pretty much just got that little click there. Matter of fact, before we even do that, let's go back, add that sustain back. We need to get rid of some of these harmonics in here to make the triangle wave into a sine wave, right? So we're going to start here. Pretty much dial it down to a sine wave. So now you see we got a nice, clean, you could use that for synth bass or, you know, as a platform for different synth bass sounds. And we are using a low pass filter, and we're using the ladder filter on here, which is the negative 24 dB filter. Same, similar to the one you can find on the Future Impact. I'm not sure what, other than a low pass filter, I'm not sure which exact filter the MXR is using. Matter of fact, let me switch over to pedal board view for you guys here. Bam. And notice there is a slight difference in volume. Not slight, but it's quite a bit different. When you're playing the MIDI versus the bass. So you will have to adjust the oscillator accordingly. But it's not something you can't fix. You could easily come over to the oscillator if I wanted to. Give it just a little bit more juice there. And if I need to boost the sound up later, it's not a big deal. But you got a nice pure sine wave there. Let me get this reverb up off of here. All right, so we're gonna take that, and we got the filter envelope amount here, right? Matter of fact, before we even do that, let's add a little bit of resonance to that. So you can hear the kick starting to form there. Let me pull out my settings just to make sure I can get this right the first time. So we got that, bam. All right. So now we're going, this filter envelope amount determines how much the filter opens, like actually modulates, opens or closes. You see, when I go positive, it takes me above that cutoff point. And depending on how I set the filter envelope is going to determine what that actually does. Right now, it's set to a stagnant point. So we're going to put this to negative 29.7. We're going to put the resonance to 3.4. You might not be able to see these lower numbers. So about 34%, with that. What's crazy is I got these exact numbers using my ears. That's crazy. That's wild. Okay, so now we got to shape the envelope of the actual sound a little bit more. So we don't need all that sustain like that. So we're going to take all that sustain out with the sustain level. A lot of synths, well, some synths I have just a sustain time or, but this one has sustain time and level. So we're going to just get rid of that level, which is going to completely, as you can see now, there's nothing happening. But we're going to add some decay to that, about 0.053 seconds. Very fast. And a lower release, about 0.123. Now we got us starting to get us a nice little kick here. And if you hit it quick, you can even get that 808 type sound. But if you hit it fast, if you hit it and hold it, so now you got you a nice kick sound. For the bass sound, I have to bring it up, but let me see some. Do this real quick. See what's going on. So, you'll have to do it slightly different for the exact bass sound. But pretty much, you can create your own custom. You You might even be better off. Let me see. So I'm gonna experiment with the. It's too long. So the decay time would be slightly longer for an actual bass guitar. So you want it so it doesn't sustain it. A little more. So you can create, it sound different on here, see? So only thing about the Enzo X that I will note to you guys, the certain little sounds like this don't always sound the same when you play them on your bass versus the keyboard. Now, most of the polyphonic sounds and all that stuff, pads, arps, all that stuff sounds the exact same. But when it comes to like key-based stuff, it comes to synth-based stuff, like using actual bass and creating stuff like this, the times are just slightly different than with getting the exact or similar sound with the MIDI keyboard. So that is something to note. Versus the Future Impact, pretty much the sound I get with the keyboard is going to be the sound I get with the Future Impact. Playing it with my bass. So that is something to note. So we bring that time back down. So now you got your own custom kick. Also got a little bit of op amp on here, running just a little bit of distortion, type thing. Now, some other things you can do with this, you can electronic toms. And then you can literally tune the kick to the song. Literally the same thing. Now, from here, you can also come back and you can actually make a snare sound from here. The reason I do it in this order is because it's a little easier to understand. If you make that kick sound by pretty much taking a triangle, we're going to bring that cutoff of that triangle down to make it a sine wave. Then from there, we're going to go to the envelope section or the VCA. It might be labeled VCA, or on here it's amp envelope, and we're going to change the shape of the actual sine wave, like the length, so like we have no attack, pretty much just some decay, a small amount of decay, no sustain, and a small amount of release. Gets you to that shorter sound. Now, this is already a platform of like almost like a tom type sound, or like a sound that's very similar to a snare with the snares off, right? So what we can do is come back to the filter section, right? Matter of fact, let's fine tune this filter section for this. Oh, we didn't even do nothing on the kick. Okay, yeah, the kick's good. All right, so we'll come back to the filter. We're going to change this to a high pass. All right, high pass filter. We're going to high pass from 732. We're going to add some noise in here. We're going to bring this filter envelope amount out up to 14%. Negative 14%, excuse me. because I want the filter to sweep down like do. See, we almost there already. So if I go back, if I take out the noise, right? So that might be the sound we starting with as the. We come over to the envelope section. We're actually just going to take off this release on the amp envelope. So on the VCA or amp envelope, let's take that release off. And I know it doesn't sound like it right this second, but when you put that noise on there, and yeah, it takes some time to fine tune this stuff, so don't you worry. So we really getting in that snare territory, you know, real easy. So from here, you just really need to add some noise. Let me bring this volume down. So something similar to that will work as a snare. And it's like once you start going up too high, it gets into that weird territory. But around this area, and this is where I said like, bring that volume down. So I don't know if you ever use any of the older electronic drum sample type or drum kits or whatever, but that gets you closer to that territory right there. So let me see how close that is to the one I actually made. Yep, pretty much spot on. Like you can even probably get to a clap this way as well. It's not too far off from a clap. So you get a nice little snare sound. And really, from there, I think all I did with this hi-hat is take out the bottom sound of it, or I filtered it out. So that's like a little bit underneath that so I don't like that clicky sound in there too much. And you can filter any amount of that out that you would like. And of course, it wouldn't be that loud in a mix. You would definitely want to, definitely want to EQ that a bit. But yeah, this is a lot less harsh. Running that through. I think I got a drum gate on here as well. I think it's 55. Especially for the snare. Really gets you in that territory. So, you know, it definitely, and I don't quantize my music. I play it. I just play it. I don't need to quantize it. Music not really supposed to be perfect like you think it is. A lot of times when you're hearing records and stuff, that stuff is so doctored up, it don't even sound organic. You know, if I was trying to be perfect on here, you would know it. Trust and believe. And I wouldn't be doing a live stream for sure. But the goal of this is not for me to show off my playing more so. This is just for me to show you how to get to these sounds. You know, the point of this is the information of how to do it. You could take it, play it, and quantize it. See how that works? See, I give you information, then you can do what you need to do, not tell me what to do. That's how we get it. All right, so now we got some different stuff we can do here. Let me see. You can use it, you know, got your kick, got your snare. Now, I will say you'll have to EQ. Be careful not to trigger any other extra stuff. So, bang, you got your snare, you got your hi-hat. You can even create melodic snares. Whatever you want to do. You know, that can even be double with the other thing. But, you know, you can, these are things you can, these are just possibilities, guys. This ain't for every single song. This ain't going to be for everybody. But, you know, if you want to be able to create some unique sounds, it's not always going to be, you know, plug the pedal up and get all these different sounds. Like none of this stuff, those string sounds, those brass sounds, like a lot of stuff you hear me do with the Enzo X, it are my patches. Now, they do make some of the best presets in the game. Like their preset game is crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, so if you want to just lay that on a track or something, like let's see a quick example of that. So this is, I don't know, let me find something. Let's do this. This is more of a 4-track already. how I do my tracks. I just simply layer it. So, yeah, you just experiment until you find what you like and what you don't like. And like I said, doesn't work for every track. You know, on a track like that, I definitely would have to use a different kick sound because where the synth bass is sitting. So all that has to be taken into account as well. If you got an open track like this, I actually like to kick a fifth above whatever's going on. Definitely got to bring the volume of it up. So this is why you want to try things out at home and just see how they're fitting. Now that track is usually a lot louder than that. You know, that track is big. So, you know, you're just layering sounds to ultimately get the result that you want. Now, I came with this snare sound. just by changing the frequency cutoff. So there, I actually added back some of that body into it, because I wanted that, make sure that that's cutting through the body of it a little bit more. He's getting a lot of that noise, right? But not quite enough of the body of the snare. So you might even and just come back and we'll raise it back up over here. Yep, there we go. Something like that. So, bam. That's the Enzo X. What's going on, folks? Appreciate that. Yeah, don't forget to hit that like button. The usual suspects showing up. Thank you. Appreciate you. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. All right, let's move on. All right, let's go to the MXR bass synth. This one will probably be a little tougher to get to some of the sounds, but we're going to do our best anyway. Let's see what we got. Where we going to start from? Anything else on? Nope. Matter of fact, let's do this. Bam. Oh, everything seems kind of low today. What's going on? There we go. So that's where we're going to start with the MXR bass synth. Right, we're going to start there. Well, let's just go ahead and mess this all up. I'm just going to mess it all up just so I have to recreate every single part. Pretty good. All right, so we'll start with just the dry bass. We already got some noise in this sound. We'll come back to the noise for the snare. So got that noise out of there. Let's see how that which one can get us the best sine wave here. Let's also turn off that turn off that filter envelope amount. Turn off the modulation. Right, starting to get back into that sub bass territory. You got to kind of use your ears to tune it, but I'm using quite a bit of resonance. So I'm actually just muting here. I'm not actually playing a note. Because all I'm doing here is using the resonance from the filter here to really accentuate that frequency that I'm putting the kick at. I'm going to see, let me add a bit of negative filter envelope. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a full ADSR with the MXR envelope, but so I'm gonna bring that up. So I'm using the triangle here and just bringing this filter cutoff down, trying to get it to one singular note. Let's also bring this volume down. So, bam. A little more. So you can easily get a kick that way. So you can definitely, I appreciate that, folks. Yeah, looping definitely takes some time to, you know, just get used to the timing of it and everything. Like, it's difficult for me to loop with this up on the floor. I need this this up here instead of on the floor. Yeah, so I understand with the looping. And so you can have it to, you know, and pretty much instead of an ADSR, you got to kind of do it yourself. Right here, I'm actually fretting the note very quickly, like staccato. This is what it sounds like without it. With it. Now I'm kind of muting it and doing it. Now it gives you a little more control over the. See, now I got rid of it altogether. And this is the percussive part. Now let's see if we can get a snare from there, right? We don't have the filter cut off. We can't change it to a high pass filter, but let's try anyway. So we want to go down to the let's add some noise. Let's try adding some positive filter envelope. See. It's almost there if I can just get it to like be a little bit more percussive. Trying to get that type sound. Let me make sure that glide isn't on. Trying to see if EQing it any different does anything for me. If we can get rid of that note a little bit. That might work with it. So I would say if you you'll have to tune it, you know, with your note that you're playing. Let me see if I can get it real short. Just need it a little bit shorter. So, I mean, you can use that as a snare for sure. I ain't gonna lie to you. You can definitely use that as a snare. Let me see. I want some more. Yeah. So what I did there, I pretty much used all the upper voice, which let me try blending in some of the bottom voice there as well. I think this filter envelope is a little far. You can definitely use that as a snare. You can definitely use that as a snare. So that's all I was doing. Of course, you want to be prior there, or so you either want. For me, I usually like the root or the fifth note of the key we in. We was in E there, so I be like had a snare might be sitting around a B, and the kick might be sitting around a fifth as well. So the bottom part of the sound and the lower volume, it's this one. No, I would definitely use less. I might even make this all noise. Right? Make that all noise. Yeah. Is that noise going to the upper octave? That's what I don't want, this long. There we go. Getting there now, mix that with some dry signal. So essentially there, that's all the upper octave with all, but that upper octave is set to, the noise mix is set to 100% as well. So 100% of this upper voice, 100% of this noise, and then I have virtually no unison pitch and no octave down. And I'm using my, part of the sound is my bass. And now you get into that. Like that old school snare sound. Let's add a little bit more gain to that. So I guess the main things is this. These are what I have the cutoff and the envelope. No chorus or none of that running. Let me see if I put a smidge of chorus, what that would do for me. Definitely kind of fatten it up. So, you know, you can get just creative with this stuff. Yeah, you get you loopers are amazing. I love them. But yeah, let me see. You can hear the modulation. I don't know how I would get the hi-hat sound from there, but let me see. You can almost use this like a shaker sound. You can use this kind of like a snare hi-hat combination. So I know these are really obscure sounds, right? But we're talking about being creative with what the gear you have, taking full advantage of the gear that you have. Also, really learning sound design. Like, how do you get to these different sounds? Appreciate you, Mojo, for subscribing. Definitely means a lot to your boy. So, you know, it's not always about, I'm not trying to get the most authentic or I would say even realistic drum sounds here. I'm trying to get two drum sounds in general. The same way if I just had my bass, I still would have drum sounds. I still would. Right? So, and I still would be. You know, sorry about that. I know that's loud. Matter of fact, bring that compressor down. And these. Or, you know, if I wanted to do a bit of tom type thing. As a hi-hat. So all I'm ever doing when I'm creating music is figuring out. Like I'm not one of those people, oh, I don't have a drum, so I got a drum. I got a piano. Got a guitar. You know, you can make things happen. You just have to be creative. Like don't trap yourself into what people think a bassist is supposed to be or supposed to sound like, or you should only use these sounds or worry about this or only worry about that. Do what you feel like doing, because those same people, if they're going to hire you, they're going to hire you. And if they not, they not. And move on. Do something else. Find some other people that do click with you. You know, I ain't never worried about nobody hiring me. You don't know why? Because I hire myself. You find work yourself. And guess what? You become the plug. They got to come to you to work, not you go to them to work. There's a difference. So you want to make yourself valuable in different ways. Like one of the ways I found that I've made myself valuable is from doing solo gigs and things like that. I've gotten more opportunities for my band to perform. And a lot of those solo gigs is using these different techniques of drum sounds and chordal. You know, it's not just playing. You can't do no solo gig just playing this. That's why I hate when they tell bass players only just do this, just listen. Do what you feel like doing. Do what you feel inspired to do. Don't let people put you in a box, because that same box they'll throw in the corner and never open it and look at it again. So don't let them do that to you. You know what I'm saying? Play what you feel. Now be musical. I'm not saying when you're supposed to be playing, you up here. I'm not saying that now. You know, don't do that. You know, but, you know, play your part. And, you know, when you have a chance to use different sounds, when it's musically makes sense or it's the right moment, you know, feel free to explore. You know, the people don't even know what they want to hear until they hear it, because they haven't heard it before. How they going to say they don't like it? They haven't heard it. Trust me, I be putting out all these little synth sounds and people just go crazy. They don't even, because they never expected it. Because everybody because a lot of people don't listen, folks tell them, don't do this, don't do that. Hey, do what you want. Do what you feel necessary to keep you in the game. So, all right, let's go to the future impact. Now, you can achieve this stuff with an octaver as well. So, you know, if you want to, just real quick while we here, I ain't gonna spend too much time on this. Let's see, let's go octave down. You know, I'll come to this later because I hadn't worked that out. I ain't gonna lie to you. But I have worked it out, but I haven't put it together on the Pog 3 yet. But on the Hog 2, essentially all you're doing is what I was doing with the bass, but you're gonna then be using the filter section and the input gain to add some extra distortion and noise. The dry sound there, or the octave down, kick down, maybe even a kick down a little bit. Bring that filter down. Take that spread, that off, bam, bam. Make sure these here. Just oct down. You can just a little bit of so you can do it with a just turn up that resonance. Bring down that filter cutoff. So this can be done with various various pedals, even octavers. If you got something like a Pog 3 or a Pog 2, this is probably possible because I believe that has a filter and resonance controls. Really, all you need is some sort of oscillator. You know, sometimes your bass sound is part of that oscillator sound, or that in conjunction creates the things you want. Yeah, six string definitely takes some time to get, you know, especially with the muting. But once you get it, it's just normal. And it really doesn't change when I go. I don't play 4-string or nothing like that, but when I do pick up a 4-string every once in a while when I'm at a store or something, yeah, it's the same technique. You know, I just have to mute less or move less. But yeah, so that's a nice kick drum sound. Now getting a nice snare sound. I ain't gonna go through all that. But let's go on to Future Impact. But I did get you the kick sound on the octaver, at least. All right. For sure, I had to tell somebody that the other day, hey man, you know, that muting is the thing, the difference between BS and real playing. So we're on the Future Impact now. We should be on your screens. All right. And as you can hear, we're back to that clicky triangle sound, right? And we're going to bring that up in the system. Right, so we'll bring the filter cutoff down. Well, let's go over here to this VCA section right here. Well, first off, let's back up because I know everybody may not be familiar with the Future Impact software. But so on your left side here, underneath where it says program, load, save, all that stuff underneath there, where it says pitch, saw, VCA. This is your first oscillator, and you just have 4 versions of these. 1, 2, 3, and 4 going straight down. VCO. Right? So these are your oscillators here. You have the option of mixing 3 different oscillators. 3 different waveforms here, and creating a custom one. We just went with the triangle one, 127, all the way up. Now we got it. The VCO right here in the middle is where your pitch is. So if I want that to drop, I just take that down, right? And I can go down 2 octaves with that. So you can already hear how a triangle wave can make just a big destructive wave. It's just massive. But we're going to bring this frequency cutoff down. We're going to come over to this filter section here. Matter of fact, we're going to go underneath there. All right, because we need to shape this sound first. Well, let's do it with this part of this filter. So we add the sustain here for the filter. So we're just going to have the filter stay where we want it to stay for now. Yes, it's got pitch shifting. It's got a harmony section. It's actually can do 3-part harmony. You know, you got an octave up, and then you got 2 more octaves right here that you can control different parameters for. 24 up, -12 down. So, but we ain't even using it. But we right here, bam. So let's add some. Add some filtering. Let's open this bit. Let's bring this filter down. I mean, this resonance. Right. It's a little too low. Trying to get rid of all that little gritty texture up in there. Just bringing a little resonance, about 15. Had to bring up this so now we pretty much there with the just a straight up sine wave. I love how you bring that resonance up and it's like a harmony. See, the object the thing I'm trying to get to all right, so now let's take out the sustain from the VCA. Gonna give it just a little bit of, just enough to be a kick. Keep going. Maybe add a bit of, that's getting to be a heavy kick. Might need some resonance here. So we getting there, folks. All right, maybe even a little more. And we will need to boost this up quite a bit just because it's so low and it's not so much. Here, let me see a little bit of release on that. So you got, I mean, let's see, it's at 57. Let's see a little more. I definitely wanted to punch through a little bit more, maybe with the accent. little too much decay now. I wonder if I do pitch follow. Pitch follow by the ADSR. Still need that decay a little shorter. Don't worry, we're going to boost it up in a second, folks. Yeah, I want to do the pitch follow, but I want it to go. See, for the kick, I had this wide open. That way we can. No less resonance. A little shorter work. Yeah, I want just a little bit of something to move. Format. I might even bring this resonance down a little more. All right, so then we come down here. Now I'll add some more volume to it. Down here. So we can go to overdrive. We'll put the overdrive on that. Let's put, we don't need it on instrument, we need it on a VCF. Small amount of drive. Get some volume in there. See if we can get a little more drive going. All right, we almost there. I say let's boost this joint around 50. All right, that's before, here's after. So now you even got a kick drum right there, readily available. If you want to add a little bit of so, you know, that's just getting to a kick drum sound. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I think that is number 26. I wanted to say that as. Let's do this, 26. It's going to be club kick. Yeah, I don't need that. So right one, right that joint, that club kick joint on there. And I'm gonna add a little bit more volume to this, matter of fact, because I don't know. That is a great club kick. So you already there. You ain't even gotta do too much. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you can tune that different ways with the resonance. You can make that heavier. You can make that lighter. You know, it just depends on what you want to do. If you add more overdrive, and then you're good from there. I actually like it with more overdrive. Actually, and like it's because you gotta remember it's got a cut. It's got a cut, so that overdrive kind of definitely helps it cut there. Bam. And we can write this one. Again, the future impact, you gotta have, the software to get to all this stuff. You ain't gonna just be able to get to it. All right. So now let's go for a snare type of sound. So we're gonna open these. Let's hit initialize. We're gonna go with a triangle wave again. Here. I believe we should take that up an octave. No, well, we'll leave the dry sound in there a little bit because it does help out. All right. Let me see what I did on here. Make sure I take this up an octave. No, this is actually down an octave. So take this down an octave. And we'll be using a high pass filter instead of the low pass in the filter section here. Oh. So that's what we got so far. Don't need that. Just a little bit of this. Little decay. Hard part is like translating everything from one thing to another. That's why, I'm trying to take the time to do this in the software too. That way you guys can actually see it on something that you may own or whatever the case. So we need a little bit of this. Is this a high pass or low pass? High pass filter. I know we got the noise here. Let's see where we at. Let's open this back up. Okay, we gotta add some more. I think I want this one here. Let's bring this down. So you can kind of hear we're getting there already. And we want this to decay. Decay a little shorter. Same thing with this, really short decay. Just trying to let that top part through, but I don't want as, it's 25, let's bring this down. Actually, I don't even need the dry signal in here. All right, give it a little bit more sustain on that. A little too much. Let's go 30. Yeah, we got it. Let's go. I never actually created a snare before or that kick drum on the Future Impact. This is actually my first time doing it, so I wanted to see how difficult it would be just doing it. You know, I had did the kick on the MXR before, but not the snare and that shaker part, and I already had created, well, I just created these today anyway, these drum sounds on the Enzo X, and I just thought it'd be a cool topic for today. But Yep, that works for me. Say that. So, not quite yet. So let's come over down to the overdrive. Let's add some overdrive. Just to, I add it even if I'm not gonna like add overdrive per se, but yeah, I don't like that's adding too much dirt to it. That actually is a really good snare sound. I've never created, I gotta say that one before I mess it up or something stupid. I do want to just do a quick like high pass filter type thing, but really just cut this low end off on it. roll these highs off a little bit too, so it's not so abrasive. Here we go. Now you can really get musical with your snare tunings. You know what I'm saying? That's I'm trying to tell y'all, these synth pedals are capable of a lot more than a lot of people are using them for. Like, a lot of people are just using the most basic thing with them. You know, and that ain't always going to get you what you want. Sometimes you got to step outside your comfort zone with it. Put this on 27. Keep them together. Let me see what I got on 27. Yeah, I ain't going to use that. Yeah, that's right, 27. No, I'm not doing music reviews. I am actually creating electronic drum sounds with bass synth pedals. So that's the topic of today. So with something like that, you got, you know, you can have your kick sound. Let's do, we got some space somewhere. Let's see. I think it should be around here. All right. So that's another electronic kick sound, but let's do tambourine. So, yeah, basically, you got your snare, your kick, and if you really, you know, you can always play with that kick sound more. You can play with that snare sound more and get it to where exactly you need it to be. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the real important part. So from here, let me see. You probably can just take out this waveform here. It's almost like you needed like a clap sound. Let's see, it's on high pass, so let me bring this up. That is almost like a clap. Just need Need some more around here. Need some more. Let's see, that's 20. So just by taking out the waveform there, I can get like a clap sound using the noise. Well, I would, in terms of, I don't know why everybody always asks me that, with MXR, bass synth, or the future impact. So this is the deal. The there are two different things. Like the future impact, if you want like all the actual, or not actual, but you want as close to those vintage bass synth sounds that you hear on records, or like the abilities to use a Moog, or like you understand how to use this software that you see me using. Like you understand what you're looking at with a VCO, the oscillators, the amplitude, pulse width, VCF input and all this stuff. Then, and you can create your own anything, or pretty much anything you can do with the MXR bass synth. You would pretty much get a better version of that with the future impact sound. But as you can see, I still love the way the MXR bass synth sounds, because I don't use it to duplicate sounds. I use it to create its own sounds within itself. So if I was only going to have one, it would be the Future Impact V4 VIP. You know what I'm saying? But that's because of the versatility of it. You just see me, like, I'm using one oscillator and noise, and I created those drum sounds. Like, now, imagine the stuff you can do harmony-wise in here with the oscillators and the harmony block section mixed together. You got overdrive, you got EQ, chorus, and delay. And the chorus is also flanger and phaser, So, you got complete control over your LFO, and whether it's going to your VCF or your VCO. You got a mixer there, a main mixer here. So the Future Impact definitely is more involved. But you got people like me, like I have a Future Impact preset pack. And I did a separate little smaller pack with a couple of Michael Jackson sounds duplicated in there. Like Thriller and Man in the Mirror. So you can't do that with the MXR bass synth, and you can't import other people's settings. You can't back up your settings with the MXR bass synth. The Future Impact, you can also play with a keyboard. So like if I want to use my keyboard and actually play real key bass, that's also an option. As well as this will also allow me to play like other synths, like say a Yamaha motif, with my bass. So the same way as tracking my bass, it'll output that through the MIDI out to another keyboard or another sound module, and allow me to use those sounds as well. So that is something that is miles above what the MXR bass synth can do. But if you are one of those people, like if you're like closer to a beginner intermediate player, you're going to have a much better time with the MXR bass synth, just because it's just less stuff. It's a lot less stuff, which does make it simpler and easier to use, which was their big selling point, right? But sound quality wise, functionality wise, and you can use the MXR bass synth and still not actually know how to use a bass synth, a real bass synth. By the time you finish learning how to use the Future Impact V4 VIP, you actually know how to manipulate a real physical synth. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the Enzo X. You'll learn how to really build sounds with these units. This gets you to a limited amount of sounds. So, but it is a lot of them that because of the possibilities, you just do the math and it's all this and that. So either way, either way, you're not gonna go wrong. But if you want the ability to get like have all my presets and stuff, you know, you're just simply not gonna be able to get my presets from the bass synth unless I give them to you directly. But these you can download. You know, you can go to my Patreon, download my preset pack for the Future Impact or the Enzo X or the Mercury X. You know, the C4 synth even has that capability, and the C4 synth at least has full MIDI as well. You know what I'm saying? And this C4 synth has 4 oscillators, similar to what the Future Impact can do, but not as well. And it's just not as good of a pedal. I'm just not gonna lie. But this sounds like a vintage bass synth, the Future Impact. So hope that helps. Yeah, if that's what you're looking for, then yes. Yeah, the Future Impact is definitely going to serve you very well. And as you can see, it's in the VIP form, it's really small. It's the size of a normal pedal. It's the size of this Empress compressor, just sideways. So, you know, they take up the same amount of space. This and this take up the same amount of space, pretty much. So, yeah. That's pretty much how you would get to these, like a few little drum sounds with each unit, at least a kick and a snare. And then from there, you would just add like some, let me see, go back. So from there, like I said, I can do things like add a drum gate. Or even if you got the loop going, right? You know, so just adding it. You probably can create some toms out of that too. Just take off that noise. I mean, essentially, yeah. So these synth units are way beyond what you think they can do, like as a bass synth. I wouldn't just get them. I wouldn't just get them and just do bass sounds. It's gonna get you all the nasty bass that you want. Yeah. That's not one of my sounds. Just nasty work. Then you still got sounds like this. Just the ridiculous amount of sound. Yeah, just stupid stuff. Yeah. Let's go to the 60s. Hold up, guys. I'll be right back. Let me give you something to listen to. See what we got on here. So, we're back. But yeah, appreciate y'all patience there. If you haven't already, hit that like button for me. Greatly appreciate you. And if you haven't already, subscribe. But yeah, so, you know, at some point I may do like a bass synth course or something like that. But I feel like my man from Michael Jackson, Anthony, I can't remember his last name on the top of my head. I'm terrible with names. I tell y'all that all the time. I'm the worst. But he's a huge inspiration, especially with me learning synths and stuff. You know, he also has a bass. He also has a synth course in general. And I don't know that I can do a course better than him at synth bass. You know, or not synth bass, but synth in general. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of like one of the OGs that have really made a way in that space. You know what I'm saying? My expertise is bass guitar, you know, mostly, and improvisation. Those are the two topics that I cover in my courses, you know, that'll be out soon. So what's going on, folks? Appreciate you stopping by. All the usual suspects in the house. Appreciate y'all. What bass is that? This is a Artisan Bass Works 6-string custom Fidelity bass. The company does not exist anymore, so you won't be able to get it, but was a really awesome, this is really light. This is extremely light bass. I can just toss it like that. I'm just using my fingers. And you can literally toss it with your fingers. It's that light. And, the neck is not thick at all. Like, you can see that in comparison to my hand there. It's not even a huge neck, everything on it custom. Plus it's got that special angle to it that makes it sit with no neck dive. So I can sit like this all day. Look, there's no neck dive. It just sits there. So that's something that was the only company that did that. I don't know if that's the only company that still does it, but that very light. It's only one pickup, bridge pickup. What is that? EMG DC 45 pickup with Aguilar OP3 3-band. Just only active, no passive. So super light bass. Just been super amazing for me. I use my bass strap, but even when I stand up, my bass, let me see what I got. I'm stepping on my cable here. My bass sits like this as well. So whether I'm sitting or standing, my bass, that was one of the tricks that I love about their basses, that whether I was sitting or standing, it's going to be in the same position. And whether I'm holding it or not, I'm moving around or not. Look how much movement I got just to get it to fall. And that's only because, there's no friction on my lap at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's no friction between the, from the gloss on the bottom and my pants. So that's why I slide around. But it would just sit there like, it's more likely to try to go that way, which is not. Like, typically I can just rest my arm right here, and that doesn't even, that doesn't make it go up or anything. It's like, it just holds it still. This thing got some nice effects. That's the distortion block. distortion from the Future Impact. There's another distortion setting. Actually, that was the overdrive setting. This is the distortion. Harmony. So you're actually getting like your bass sound there. You're getting the synth sound and the octave up distorted sound. Into your effects. Told you, don't sleep on this Future Impact or any of these synth pedals really. But the Enzo X and the Future Impact are, in terms of synth pedals, they are special. They are in a league of their own, each of them in their own separate league by themselves, not even in a league together. They are a league, two separate leagues above everybody else, which is crazy. Oh, that's nasty. Come on now. What's going on? It's my bud Doug. What's good, babe? How you feeling, man? I'm gonna hit you up when I get off of here. I hit you back the other day. I ain't forgot about you. That modulation, I forgot how good the modulations are on this Future Impact. That's really impressive. Don't forget it's got delay. And this is only the Future Impact. This stuff you're listening to, well, there was a little bit of a mix of the stock presets and my own stuff. Like I think I kept the stock modulation settings, and like that sound you just heard there is in my preset pack, you know. So like none of that's, you know, these bigger sounds that you're hearing, the bass sounds like that. If it sound like that, know that's my presets. You feel me? First of all, that release on that joint is crazy. And that's something that the MXR bass synth cannot do. It's not going to give you that release, like that sustain, that release after. I'm only doing, this is what I was doing. Right? Real staccato. See, and things like sounds like this, the reason they do like sound like they're glitching a little bit is because you're not moving with the sound. Like even if you were playing it on the keyboard, if you got to play with the sound. And it's just massive, massive, massive bass sounds. That nice hey. So, you know, I don't really have, and they coming out with an update for the Future Impact, which is supposed to add more sound capabilities from the DX7, Yamaha DX7, I believe it is. And they also, you know, have said they have improved the tracking as well. And it already tracks well. So, you know, that's a super huge bonus for owning a Future Impact. It also can be updated. You can't update the MXR bass synth. It's just going to be what it is forever. So, yeah, I thank you guys for hanging out with me for a bit, man. It means a while. It means a lot to me. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe. Make sure you follow me on all social media at the Bass Negus, Negus. And if you haven't already, check out my Patreon page for $1, $5 a month. You can support the channel. And if you want different presets for the Future Impact, the Enzo X, the Tone X1s, there's over 20-something preamp and bass head packs on there. Then you got the Mercury X, you got the C4 Synth pack, the Zoom B6, the Zoom MS60B+, the Zoom MS70 CDR+. All these different preset packs are available over on the Patreon. So make sure you go check them out. You know, help your boy out, you know, and help yourself out. It's going to save you time. And guess what? guess what? Time is what? You feel me? So, you know, get your money together, and that way you ain't got to spend all your time trying to figure out things that happened already, things that are already in existence. You ain't got to try to figure them sounds out. They already exist in my preset pack, more than likely. So check it out, and, you know, I'll catch you guys later. Like I said, I definitely appreciate you guys. And, you know, special thanks to all the Patreon and YouTube members. You guys are amazing. You help keep the channel growing and going. So thank you so much, and I will catch